So for a little over a year, I lived in a small town in Northern California where essentially I would run into mostly old folks. I'm talking about folks in their mid to late 70s, 80s, and some even their 90s. And I'm the type of guy who, I like to strike up conversations with interesting people. And so I would find myself in conversation with folks that you would never imagine me sitting next to, or at least if you didn't know me, looking from the outside, you likely would be confused. And the sort of conversations I would have with them would obviously entail their own life experiences, things that, they experienced in their past, what it was like growing up during their time, etc. And something that was almost always brought up was how different America was now. And by now, I mean, the last few decades. They continue to say how we were losing our freedoms and how they were after our freedoms, et cetera, et cetera. And, though a part of me resonated with that, I didn't understand the complete extent of those statements, right? I didn't understand when they spoke of the commies, they weren't talking about some airy-fairy idea. They were talking about an ideology that had looked to make its way into the Western world since probably the beginning of Western civilization, let alone American society. And so I've come to a place where I not only understand this, but I see this sort of stuff on a daily basis. Stuff like this here.
Get the university's money to do the work you want to do to dismantle the university within. Students are going to get radicalized when they're juniors, and then they'll be active in their senior year, and they'll go. And right, and the university will wait until May to make that.
If you're a parent, I hope you're terrified in hearing those words right there. Did you hear that? Let me go ahead and run that back.
Get the university's money to do the work you want to do to dismantle the university.
Get the university's money in order to take that money and to destroy the university. In essence, work within the so-called capitalist Western system in order to destroy the capitalist Western system. That is what we're currently experiencing at scale right now. These so-called liberal elites are looking to destroy the Western way of life. Now, I like to soak in not only the words that are being said, and we're going to get into the rest of this video, don't worry. But I'm sure you noticed the little tablecloth here. Might look familiar to you. That is what is known as a kafir, right? It has become a sort of trendy fashion statement that is used by these quote unquote pro-Palestine, aka pro-Hamas supporters across the planet. I have seen a multitude of white liberals wearing this damn scarf. Folks who could not point to the Gaza Strip on a map, but are rocking this like it's some sort of branded attire. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and let this play out. But immediately my mind just went to, oh boy, if you're a parent looking to send your child off to a university campus, maybe, just maybe for a little bit until we clean the weeds out, that might not be the best idea. They already have a plan for your children. Look. She says it right here.
Students are going to get radicalized when they're juniors, and then they'll be active in their senior year, and they'll go. And right, and the university will wait until May to make that announcement and do all the things that they're going to do. We want to abolish the university as it is, but we're not going to sit down and wait until that happens while people are being persecuted, while people are being abducted, where people are suffering. We got to do both.
Imagine being on a university campus, having been afforded every single one of these paid for, well-funded experiences, just to come back to destroy the entire thing because you believe in dismantling the West, i.e. dismantling the very thing that has afforded you all of the opportunities that you currently enjoy, and then being in support of an ideology that sees you as second-class citizen, that looks to you as equivalent to their best livestock. That's what the hell is actually going on here. That's what's going on. I've received messages of people saying, you hate Islam. Why do you hate Islam? I said, or no, say you hate Muslims. I said, not once have I ever said that. And I'm the type of guy, I will tell you what I hate, what I dislike. I will tell you how I feel about almost everything, probably everything, and anyone. I'll tell you exactly how I feel about them. I have a deep disdain for an ideology that strips freedoms away from the individual. Whether it is communism, whether it is socialism, or Islam. I despise an ideology that turns the individual into nothing more than subservient to the system. Now, some would say, but that's what capitalism is. Is it? Is the ability to say to your neighbor, I have 3 chickens, give me your goat. Matter of fact, I have something that could represent 3 chickens. Can I get a goat? And my neighbor to say, you know what? Sounds like a fair trade. Or you know what? That's not enough. That sort of system right there is one I can get down with, where people can choose to be in that job, where people can choose to create the company or not to create the company, to sell the thing or not to sell the thing, to buy or not to buy. I prefer that than a system that says, hey, you cover your women up. Now your women will be subject to that box that you call a house, and you will bow the knee to a God that requires you to destroy people who are unlike yourself completely. I'm good off that. But yet that's what they're in support of. That's what they're condoning. We've been having the surface level conversation for too long at this point. We've been giving the benefit of the doubt for too long. It's like what happened with, the entire alphabet community. And I'm not just saying, that the L's and the B's or the G's or whatever, or the L's, the G's and the B's, or whoever who was just looking to live their life in freedom. I'm talking about the entire mafia-minded organization that took place and bullied its way into every institution to the point where we now have to save our own children from being chemically castrated by the state. That's what I'm talking about. I'm against that.
And then we had the class, which we call it American Civilization. It was an ethnic studies class, quite radical. A lot of you in this room came to Freedom U to lecture. As I tried to reconcile what I understood as the work I wanted to do in this world, as my dear friend George Lipset says, and the demands of the colonizing racial capitalist white supremacist institution that pay my salary, which I very much.
So you have a made up job. This is the disease that DEI was to the mind. It had these people thinking that they actually had a real purpose in this life. That the basket weaving degree was, actually, that's an insult to basket weavers. Let's be honest. Let's stop using that. That the gender studies degree that gave you some sort of specialty in understanding the nuances of gender. You needed 3 seconds as a child to know everything there is to know. Boy, girl, done. These people are creating synthetic purposes because they're bored out of their damn minds. They live in a world where they have finance burritos through their DoorDash apps. That's the world that they're living in. Maybe capitalism has been a terrible thing because it has made your ass so comfortable. It has made you so damn complacent and useless that you have to make stuff up to destroy the very thing that created those comforts that you now enjoy, that allow you to be obese, that allow you to have an excess of calories, that allow you to have a seat at a made up table and have the audacity to have more love on the back of your Palestine next to more love. You can't make this stuff up. Next to some gay coalition.
Of you in this room came to Freedom U to lecture. As I tried to reconcile what I understood as the work I wanted to do in this world, as my dear friend George Lipset says, and the demands of the colonizing racial capitalist white supremacist institution that pay my salary, which I very much need. Folks who are in sometimes in the hard sciences or in computer science or in engineering, when they join these kinds of movements, they face more resistance than you might face in, let's say, a Black Studies department. That is, as an ethnic studies professor whose work is on Black Latinx people, for example, my loyalties and my commitment are with Latinx people, with Black Latinx people, not with the university, not with the publisher, not with the funders. The way...
This is literally how she's talking to the people who are funding her, and they soak it up like a biscuit and gravy. Because, see, this is the necessary relationship between the parasite and the host. And let's say you actually agree to have this parasite be a part of your life, right? Like, what's that? The little fish that helps to clean, like the shark's teeth or something like that. So or the bacteria, whatever it is, it goes in there and it's like, okay, I'll take the food in your teeth and you allow me to do so in order to clean your teeth for the next time you go out and eat again, so we can, do this little exchange. So the white liberal says, look, I'll continue to fund you. I'll continue to uplift or whatever it is, as long as you allow me to continue to feel good about myself by being an ally, standing next to you. I don't have to do anything of real significance. I just have to continue to say, I stand with her, they, them, he, she. You catch what I'm throwing. It's a beautiful, symbiotic, parasitic sort of relationship they got going on here. The white liberal needs the quote unquote person of color or alphabet person or whatever it is to latch themselves onto, to feel a sense of purpose themselves. So they'll let you spew on this nonsense. It's like the Ibrahim X. Kendis of the world, right? How to be anti-racist, writes that nonsense book. And this book is funded with upwards to $50 million. So he can do these studies on how to help people be anti-racist. What does he come up with? In the span of a couple of years and $50 million of funding, he comes up with 3 papers. Absolute garbage. But nobody says anything because, we did our part. We knew it was complete garbage, but we want to feel good about ourselves.
It's translate into everyday life on campus is transformative. It transformed me, and it definitely radicalized me and many of my students. 5 premises.
They're not even hiding it. Radicalized me. They're not hiding it, folks.
It thrives on individualism. Definitely radicalized me and many of my students. 5 premises. Capitalism sucks. It thrives on individualism, and individualism is killing us. Rebellious communities must have intention. They are always democratic and non-hierarchical, though they can have forms of leadership. Well, number 4.
Do you hear that? I'm going to start doing more nuanced breakdowns of Marxism and things of that nature. I recently picked up a copy of the Communist Manifesto. I think it is a necessary read for everybody for different reasons than you may think. Well, at least not you, but, the average dimwit individual out there. So she says...
Well, number 4, well, focus and non-hierarchical, though they can have forms of leadership.
So
they are always democratic and non-hierarchical.
So democratic and non-hierarchical. This is one of the arguments for communism, is to say, well, we shouldn't have hierarchies. We need to tear down every structure that exists. Though life is inherently hierarchical, there are hierarchies in everything, in all of nature, actually. It is not to say that one is more valuable to God than the other, but instead to say that this is the chain of command. And sometimes one is in command when the other is not. Like, I'll be honest, in relationships, in the house, though the husband may be the leader when it comes to a lot of the decisions that are made here, the wife, mama, is the boss when it comes to other decisions. Let's just be honest, okay? That's not a blue-pilled mentality. That's just the facts. Sometimes mama's making the rules up when it comes to this and this and this. Papa's making the rules when it comes to this and this and this. Whatever your domain and area of expertise is becomes the hierarchy of where you stand in that decision-making process. Even the leader must be a servant. So she states that it's going to be democratic and beautiful and pure, and everybody is just going to be kumbaya. Oh, but then that makes for leaders. A leader is inherently the top of your hierarchy. Duh. The difference is, are they going to be competent? Likely not. You're probably going to get a dictator type of individual who will likely take advantage of the fact that everybody wants to be kumbaya as opposed to having a true structure, rules set out. There's a game and there are rules to the game, and you play within the confines of those rules. That's simply how it goes. But when you tear all those systems apart, guess what happens? A new rule is set, or a new game is set with its own set of rules, and likely it is going to be anarchy. And you're not going to like the way that one looks. There is no DoorDash paid off by Klarna. Simple.
So they can have forms of leadership. Well, number 4, while the focus is on the collective, we don't ignore individual needs and circumstances, particularly as related to the inequalities created by heteropatriarchy and racial capitalism. And number 5, communities are imperfect and require radical love to thrive. Hopefully I won't end up in court for saying this on a mic.
No, you might end up in an institution, not court though. Not court, an institution for sure. So, hey, dear white universities, dear capitalist universities, we're going to take your money so we can destroy you, so we can make a perfect utopia where everybody has it fair and everybody's taken care of and it's just going to work out. How is that working out in their little pockets of the world? Better yet, how has it worked in Cuba, Venezuela, North Korea, China before China? Because the China we know today only exists because they made or created capitalist zones, free market and free trade zones, in order for them to be able to mobilize. And they're still they have a 300x. Their financial deficit is, I believe, 3 times larger than the United States. So we talk about our deficit here, they're 3x over there, if not more so at this point. Why does all this matter? Because if we don't continue to challenge these ideas continue to be perpetuated and somebody's picking them up. Likely the kiddos, likely the teens, likely the young adults who want a sense of belonging. They want to feel accepted. And the more people around them are spewing this sort of nonsense, the more likely they are to gravitate to these ideas. When we represent and show them good ideas and understand these ideas, that's why I make sure to, again, continue to educate myself. This right here is a book by Milton Friedman, one of the greatest economists in history. Capitalism and Freedom. If you don't understand what capitalism truly is, you will be consumed by the lies that are spread about what it is. If you don't understand free trade and its relationship to freedom, then you will not understand what the hell is going on around you. And your kids are going to adopt things that they have never experienced. And God forbid they bring those things into fruition. They're going to have a very difficult life. A very difficult life. Your middle upper class white teenager is going to grow up in Venezuela and wonder what the hell hit them. And I'll tell you what hit them. Terrible ideas. So that's the beauty of the First Amendment. We have the freedom to express our stupid ideas, as well as you have the freedom to express your stupid ideas. And somewhere in the middle, the best ideas will hopefully rise to the top. But we can't be silent. We can't continue to just hold back and be apologetic. I am a non-apologetic capitalist because I understand what it means. I'm not afraid to say that this game is one that I am willing to actually participate in. But we're told to be ashamed of that. We're told to be ashamed of the values we hold. I am unapologetically aligned with the principles that God has outlined for life. Father, mother, children, to be the leader in my household where I am needed as that leader. Unapologetic about that. Oh, well, maybe that makes other people feel uncomfortable, and maybe I don't give a damn how it makes somebody else feel. That's me. And this system works. There's a reason for it. So again, we continue to allow the ideas to make their way out, and we see which ones work. Simple. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace.
I fell in love with the sunshine. I fell in love with the light. I fell in love with the full moon. I fell in love with the night. I can see the light again. I can see the light. You can see the life in him illuminate the night. I know the time is taking. A 3-6-5, that's a full rotation. I see you looking up, you know them constellations. Constantly gazing like house of praises, you get to praising.